Is anybody else feeling freaky? Hey, are you feeling freaky?
Yes.
Oh shit.
I don't know what I dropped.
Oh, that's freaky. This is the first time anybody has ever been in the movies. It's for Minecraft. It's crazy. We just saw it, and oh my god, it's the greatest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It felt like Salt Lake City Punk, but meets, and I'm only saying it because of the recency of it being relevant, the win or lose, in the sense that it was a couple of different stories that kind of interconnected, and it was split up in 4 chapters. It was in movie form, and oh my god, that is I can't give it any justice. It is the greatest movie I've ever seen. After rewatching SLC Punk, I want to do a brief comparison on the ending message of the movie and how the two differ and why I prefer Freaky Tales. Freaky Tales, from start to finish, highlights the daily life and especially struggles that all kinds of folks have to deal with. And almost all of those struggles rear their head in the form of white supremacy and continued ideological warfare. Whether it's a Nazi trying to fuck up our punk show, or the Nazis that force us to be their hitmen while keeping us indebted to them, or the gross old white men who make women of color feel uncomfortable when they sexually harass them at their work, or Nazis coming to your home and hurting the people you love. The movie both celebrates life and the wonders of that day while explicitly showing how the worst parts of life are directly caused by Nazis. The solution? The ending? To be honest, I was surprised Pedro Pascal didn't have a John Wick moment at the end of the film to free his future for his daughter, but I love the creativity they took on instead through Sleepy Floyd. The break from reality to do Blade and Superman moves on these Nazi scumbags was the kind of break from logic in order to achieve satisfaction that I loved. Killing Nazis is always satisfying. I think it's important that Angus Cloud's character died too in that movie. In interviews with the writers afterwards, they commented how Angus changed his character from being an ideologically committed Nazi to just being a sports nerd working with them. It was important to differentiate the makeup of these white guys because while yes, Angus was not a Nazi, he might as well have been given how he was helping them and he got what was coming to them. He may not have shared their ideological hatred, but he was just as culpable for their actions. If you're in a room with a bunch of Nazis and you're not fighting them, then bitch, you might just be a Nazi. Additionally, I thought it was so topical in that beginning chapter to include those debates among the punks and Black Panthers who were hosting the rock shows, specifically the white guy who was against violence. This liberal, holier than thou aesthetic that prioritizes aesthetic and institutions over direct action, even if it's violent, is cowardly, useless, and essentially you're aligning yourself with the enemy for no reason. I thought the conclusion to that argument was perfect too because it really is that simple. Damn, I don't want to be the only one in the room who wouldn't fight a Nazi. And the rules don't apply to Nazis. I want to compare Freaky Tales to SLC Punk now in terms of its conclusion. Salt Lake City Punk makes me depressed and sad in a number of ways, outside of all the slurs and casual child predation and even Bob's death. The movie ends in tragedy in the form of Bob's death, but more than that, it ends with Matthew Lillard having to grow up. He realized that despite his outward push, he was a poser all along, and he painfully recognized the truth that there is no future in anarchy. True! The world didn't end like he was counting on, and now he still has to actually do something. And he ended up buying in like his father and going to law school and maybe fighting institutions there. Ideological differences aside, given how anarchists' explicit beef is with the systems that govern us rather than refining and correcting the systems to be more progressive, it was a sad, complete tonal shift from our ideology throughout the movie. That movie is one of my favorite representations of anarchism, and I think it handles its discussion over inherent contradictions and cultural battles incredibly well. But like I said, that realization in its conclusion is heartbreaking outside of just the circumstances that surrounded it. Freaky Tales, however, wasn't about anarchism specifically. It was punk, yes, and maybe I'm projecting, but it felt more tamely leftist rather than explicitly anarchist. Its conclusion may have been the same as SLC Punk in the recognition that we do have to do actions ourselves, but in Freaky Tales, those actions were embraced with a cold, hard seriousness and badass, fantastical ninja moves. We can have fun and enjoy killing Nazis as we should, and the recognition that we have to take action isn't a sad one because we were always willing to. We just got pointed in the right direction because those Nazis fucked with the wrong warrior.